Stock market is getting close to breaching that $30,000 key level. You can see September's futures are down to $30,600, $786 down, even though the Dow Jones is up $8 today after a volatile up and down day. I believe the futures market is telling you and foreshadowing what's going to go on next week in the stock market, and I think it's going to be down and down big, right, as we're getting ever and ever closer to another 50 basis point rate hike, right? But if we look at gold, say what you want about gold. Everybody's saying gold, because people get misconstrued with gold. Gold is not the bullion to get you a spot price to get you rich. Gold bullion, what it does is it preserves your wealth, right? And you can see over the last year, stocks and cryptos are down 30 to 80%, right? And individual stocks. Gold's only down a couple percent. Gold today, inflation equivalent, 20 years ago, you have the same purchasing power, and that's the power of gold. You hold your purchasing power. You never lose it, right? You're not going to make massive gains. Every now and then, year over year, gold may go down per ounce, but decade over decade, if you bought a gold bar a decade ago, a decade, 2 decades later, that purchasing power is still going to be there, right? If you exchange the bullion for an asset, right? Unlike crypto, you've lost 60 to 70% of your purchasing power in Bitcoin within a matter of a few months. That's the difference. But you can see gold's been holding up quite nice in this last sell-off. As you can see, this last market sell-off where crypto's down, Bitcoin's down 40%, altcoins are down 60 to 90% across the board, and the stocks, the major indexes, are all down 20, 25% in bear markets, and individual stocks are down upwards of 70%, 80%. You can see gold from its recent high to current price is only down 10.3%. So everything else across the board is down 30, 40, 50, 60%, right? Gold's only down 10% from its recent high. In the same period of time, the stock market's down 30%, the Nasdaq's down 25%, cryptos are down 50%, right? So gold's doing its job, and gold's in the initial stages of a crisis is selling off slightly, but holding up better than the rest of the assets that are collapsing. And gold eventually will get its footing and will eventually take off to the upside, right? And I believe that if you buy these gold and silver mining stocks, right, you're going to do phenomenally well. I've showed you my portfolio time and time again, what I'm adding to. And I believe next week we're going to add slightly, maybe $1,500 or $2,000 to that position and the various ones of the stocks that I own, right? Because you can see we're having more warning signs inside Wells Fargo town hall to explain mortgage layoffs, right? Major layoffs hit mortgage startups and traditional lenders, right? Detroit Free Press, mortgage industry layoffs, buyouts ramping up in Metro Detroit, right? And why is that happening? Because you're at the beginning stages of a housing crisis, and right now we're in stage 1 denial, right? Stage 1, things are starting to happen. Mortgages and banks are laying the mortgage and housing people off. Home supply is rising, interest rates are rising, 30-year fixed rates are nearly 6%, right? And you're in denial right now, and people are watching these warning signs fly, and I can only tell you so much and so many times about what's going on and these things you need to be paying attention to, right? And this is starting to happen now, of course. Well, I mean, God, the free press is the same. So let me read the article, right? But it's going to be bad. Things are lining up for a catastrophic crisis and the federal government, or the Fed right now, and the criminal bankster, the criminal gangster cartel that has infiltrated the federal government, United States government, Federal Reserve, and the world banking system in order to rig the markets, right, and fleece, heist, and shice the average American, right? But I'm here to tell you and warn you of the criminal gangster cartel and the henchman, Jerome Powell, as he's still planning on tanking the markets, right? Oop, that's not where I want to be. He's still planning on tanking the markets and sucking capital out of the banking system because he's a member of the criminal gangster cartel. And they have infiltrated the Federal Reserve, the United States government, and the world banking system, and they've hijacked the United States and the policymakers and the world's banking system has been hijacked. And these guys right now, Jerome Powell, is telling you the markets are rigged to the downside. He's crashing housing prices. He's going to try to squash inflation, which means to suck capital and liquidity out of the market and to drive the prices down and drive economic activity down, to lower oil, try to lower gold prices, commodity prices, energy prices. But it's gonna tank the banking system, and if he keeps the squeeze on long enough, you're gonna get the debt bubble pop, and that's the worst possible outcome out of this whole thing is the debt bubble to finally pop. Because if the debt bubble pops, there is no going back. You have a mass crisis, and you have a Greece-style bank run and liquidity crisis, right? It's not fun, and there's no way to dodge it, right? And that's what the Federal Reserve criminal banksters and the market manipulators that have infiltrated the Federal Reserve, the United States government, and world banking system, and they're rigging the markets to the downside. And the only question now is, how far to the extreme are they willing to take this to the downside before they get called uncle and have to reverse course? Right? Because every month they go, because next month they're going to raise interest rates another quarter basis point. So you're going to get mass sell-offs into that. And then there's going to be a breaking point or a coming of Jesus moment where they're going to have to decide, are we going to keep crap